How's everyone doing this morning? Great, great, great. So my name is Josh Matthews. I am a credit specialist here in Indianapolis. My company's called Independence Boost. And today I'm going to give you very tactical strategies that you can use in order to put yourself in a better position when it comes to your credit, so then that way you can get in that home that you want to get into. So today I'm going to talk about 4 ways to instantly boost your credit score. So first and foremost is that you have to get access to your credit report. It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many times I come across people, even on phone calls, where I'm like, hey, so what's going on with your credit? And they're like, I don't know. So you need to get access to your credit report, and you can do that by using certain credit monitoring services. There's a bunch of them out there. Just choose which one that you would prefer. Personally, for a lot of my clients, I use one called like Smart Credit. It allows you to see all your credit reports from all 3 credit bureaus and see all the information that's on your report. And the last thing on that is just very important to get access to that, because how can you get to where you want to go if you don't know where you currently are? You got to know exactly where you're at to hit that end result, and that's the very first step in order to do that. Number 2, you want to challenge and dispute any inaccuracies that are on your credit report. So I don't know how many of you know this, but 79% of all credit reports have some type of errors on them. So even if you have an amazing score, you could still have some errors on there that could be affecting you. And under the laws of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have the right to have a 100% accurate report. So here are some of the most common errors that you could come across on your credit report that you want to make sure that is correct. So first being is that when you look at your credit report, you want to access the personal information section. So that's your name, your date of birth, your address, your employers. You want to make sure that all that information is being listed correctly. I have calls with a lot of clients where their names aren't spelled correctly, their date of birth could be wrong, their employers could be wrong, or even it's just outdated. So you want to be sure that you update that and have it up to date, because that information that's listed could be associated with some of the negative information that's on your credit report. I've even had examples for some clients where they updated the personal information section of their credit report, and it actually helped put an account back in positive standings, or deleted an account because that wrong info was associated with that negative item. Next is you want to look for closed accounts being reported as open, accounts falsely showing late payments, incorrect date open, date of last payment, date of delinquencies. A lot of that stuff could be not matching up or not be accurate. Same debt being listed twice more than once. I've seen it multiple times where there's multiple accounts, which is the same debt, but it's being listed multiple times, which is double hurting you when it comes to your credit score. Accounts with incorrect credit limits, and also accounts that aren't reporting the correct balances. So like I said, you just want to make sure that all that stuff is matching up correctly, because it's your right, and also too, that it could just be affecting you negatively. So here's the fun stuff: how to actually challenge that information, so then that way we can work to get it removed. So this is the first step that I take with all my clients. The first thing that I make sure to dispute and challenge with the bureaus and get updated is the personal information section. So it's as simple as sending a letter or calling the credit bureaus and saying, hey, I noticed that this information is being listed on my credit report and it's wrong or it's outdated. Can you please update this information? Either way could work, calling or mailing. If you call, they have the numbers on the Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. They have all the numbers listed on their website, so you can just call, get it done. Sometimes it may take a while depending on what time and day you're actually calling to get that done. Or you might run into instances where the credit bureaus, they'll try to stall you out or say, hey, we can't update this information. But if that happens, I would just keep trying again until they fix everything, because they're really not on your side. So you got to be on them about doing that stuff. So And then also, if you just send a letter in saying which information that you want updated, they'll usually do it, and then they'll let you know once they updated that info. So next, if you have any collections on your report, this is also one of the first steps that I do for my clients. What you want to do is, if you have a collection on your report, you want to send a debt validation letter. So in simple terms, basically what that means is you want to send a letter to the collections agency and you want to say, hey, I noticed this debt on my report. Can you please provide me with proof that I actually owe this debt? You want to put the proof of burden on the collections agency. You don't want to admit to it. You don't want to get on the phone with them to try to settle the debt. You want to do everything through mail, so then that way you have your paperwork and you're putting the proof of burden on them. So what you should request is, signatures, contracts, anything that proves that you actually owe this debt. And if they can't provide that information, then by the Fair Credit Reporting Act laws, they have to delete it from your credit report. Now, I want to say it doesn't mean that you just completely wipe away the debt, you just don't owe the debt. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if they can't provide the proof that you actually owe it, they have to remove it from the report, and then they won't be able to reinsert it on the credit report. And then lastly, when it comes to challenging items on your report, is you want to send a investigation. So once you get access to your credit report, you want to send an investigation letter to the credit bureaus. So then that way you're just saying, hey, I got a copy of my credit report. I noticed this information. Can you please let me know if all this information is correct? And what will usually happen is once you send that letter, they'll send a letter back saying, hey, either this item was deleted, it was updated, or it was verified. Now, great case scenario, you get deletions on the things that aren't accurate on your report. Or if they say that the information was verified, you then want to, or updated, you then want to follow up saying, hey, how did you actually verify this information? And if they can't provide proof of how they verified the info, then they have to clean it up from your credit report and put the account back into good standings. Number 3, you want to build positive payment history. This is by far probably one of the most important parts, just because payment history accounts for 35% of your credit score. So the best way to build positive payment history is you want to have a minimum or stay between 5 and 10 open accounts with 100% payment history. It's just self-explanatory with that. I recommend when it comes to those type of accounts, they could be credit cards, they can be loans, they can be credit building tools, they can be a bunch of different type of accounts that you want to keep in good standings. Even, currently, I know you guys want to get in a home, or even if you're currently paying for a home or paying rent, you could actually report your rent. So then that way that's even reported, and that counts as an open account on your credit report. So there's a bunch of different methods that you can do, but you want to stay between those or exceed that and work towards that. Number 4, you want to focus on the structure of your report rather than your actual credit score. So we all want, a 700 plus score. That sounds sexy, but we all want that high score. You want to be like, it makes you feel good, right? But that's the outcome. We want to focus on the input of what it takes to get that output. So next I'll talk about what the perfect structure is. And you can definitely take screenshots of this, but this is what you want to work towards, because if you follow this formula, then you'll have the credit score as a byproduct. It'll happen. The credit score will happen, but you want to make sure that you're hitting these data points. So 1 is 100% payment history. Like the previous slide, I said that's probably one of the most important parts, just because it accounts for 35% of your score. And if you have a late payment or a late payment occurs, that could dock your score like 50 plus points. So you want to avoid late payments at all costs. And to do that, put stuff on autopay, set reminders, because the worst thing that could happen is you having a late payment on something that costs like $30 every month. Such a small payment could affect your score tremendously. Next is utilization. So utilization is just how much of your actual credit limit that you're actually using. I recommend that you want 3 to 10% reporting every single month on your credit report. If you go to Google, they're going to say, hey, you want to stay 30% or below, but 3 to 10% reporting on your credit report will boost your score the most. Next is you want 0 derogatory or delinquent marks, so no late payments, no collections, none of that. Credit history, you want a minimum of 7 years of credit history. Now, there's really nothing much you can do. This just comes with time, so the earlier you start building credit, the better. One tip that you could do, though, is if you have a family member or you have a close friend that has great credit history on a credit card, you can get added as an authorized user. Now, I also will say you want to make sure that they actually have great credit history. Because if they're missing all their payments and the limit's super high, you're going to adopt that. So you want to make sure just everything is clean. So for a personal example, like 4 years ago, when I was building up my score, I got added as an authorized user on my grandfather's credit card, 20 years of credit history, 100% payments, $20,000 credit line. I adopted that, and it raised my score like 100 points. So that's how powerful it can be. But like I said, just make sure that whoever it is, that it's in good standings. And then now I know I said you want between 5 to 10 open accounts, but this is what you want to shoot for. You want to shoot for 10 plus open accounts. So then that way, it just shows your credit worthiness. And even I'll also say this, because I come across it all the time, like people close credit cards just because like they're not using them anymore or things like that. You want to keep those accounts open. Even if you're not saying you're using a credit card anymore, keep it open, because you want to keep that history and you want to keep that on your report, because it just shows that you're diversified. And then lastly, you want 2 to 3 inquiries reporting on your credit report. So if you have a bunch of inquiries, there's ways to get those off. But I definitely recommend you want to have as little inquiries as possible when it comes to what's reporting. And then lastly, have a QR code up here. If you want to discuss further, just have a free strategy call on seeing where your current situation is and seeing what it would take to get to where you want to go. You could schedule a call with me personally. Anyone that I talk to, information is confidential. And during that call, we're just going to go through, see where you're at, see to get you to where you want to go. So then that way you can get in the home that you want. So that's all I got.